Abhishek Mishra, Aaj Tak.
All right, that's Abhishek Mishra there who's tracking those developments. Kapil Sibal looks very jubilant, very happy, seems quite content. He just completed his, nearly completed his Rajya Sabha term, and it appears that now, with the help of the SP, with the support of the SP, he now is all likely to be pushed back to the Rajya Sabha. Let me cut across to Maushmi as well. Sneha also joining us from the newsroom. Maushmi, who's been tracking the Congress. Maushmi, here is Kapil Sibal, who seems quite happy with the decision he's made. He completes his term in the Rajya Sabha, and now he possibly is voted back with the support of the Samajwadi Party. He's been a strong support to the Samajwadi Party so long, since 2017, helped the SP regain the bicycle symbol, fought in court for them, helped Azam Khan get bail, whatnot. So he's been really supporting and backing the Samajwadi Party despite being in the Congress for years now. So it's quite natural that the SP has now fully backed him to be re-elected in the Rajya Sabha.
Nabila, first things first, that this is the same Kapil Sibal who said that he will be in the Congress party till his last breath unless he's thrown out of the party. And there was a lot of tussle before you saw Kapil Sibal right there in Lucknow. And apparently there was a lot of push and shove because after he gave the Chintan Shivir a miss, the Jharkhand government, in fact, the GMM, the alliance of the Congress, in fact, readied Kapil Sibal for the candidate from Jharkhand, one seat that was coming to the kitty, and they said you get the party symbol, and the Congress party, the party high command was not ready to back Kapil Sibal despite the alliance partner ready with Kapil Sibal's name. They suggested other names like Subodh Khan Sahai, Ajoy Kumar, and Furqan Ansari, and said they were not ready. The Congress was not ready to support Kapil Sibal, their own leader, candidature. There are multiple reasons for that, and the principal one being that he is the biggest critic of the Gandhi family. He's led a rebellion, and he's been a part of the rebellion even after a peace has been brokered between the G23 rebels. It seems Kapil Sibal refused to remain silent, and that's one reason that you see that Kapil Sibal has now joined the rank and file of the Samajwadi Party. Many were speculating the Shiv Sena, the RJD, the Samajwadi Party, and the JMM all were ready to back Kapil Sibal because Kapil Sibal, being a veteran lawyer, his stature, he was never a problem for the alliance partners, not only the BJP government, perhaps somewhere the allies also saw the relevance of Kapil Sibal because he was, attacking Rahul Gandhi, and the alliance partners are not very happy with Rahul Gandhi, so they thought that perhaps their voice and their purpose was served if Kapil Sibal kept on continuing with the Congress party.
You know, but Maushmi, as far as we see, Kapil Sibal clearly not a mass leader. He's not strong within his own constituency. At a time like this, he's still trying to keep a strong foothold in power. He's lost out on the Congress's support because he's been a vocal critique. Now he takes Samajwadi's, SP's support entirely, the Samajwadi Party, to push him back to the Rajya Sabha. In fact, Abhishek Mishra, who's been following up on the movements of Kapil Sibal, Abhishek, he's filed a nomination as an independent candidate. That's surprising. Why did he not take the call to join the SP formally?
Well, absolutely, Nabila. This is quite interesting that the Kapil Sibal has filed the nomination as an independent candidate. We spoke to him and he said that he has not taken so far membership of the Samajwadi Party, but he has indeed resigned from the Congress Party. It's a clear indication that what is going to be the next step and the kind of politics which is emerging in Uttar Pradesh. We have seen also earlier that Congress was an ally partner of Samajwadi Party in the 2017 elections, but nothing happened. But this time the association is rather personal than the political, if we talk about the political relation. Azam Khan coming out of the jail, and Kapil Sibal has a big role to play in it, and that is what something has played in his favor. It is quite like a damage control for what has been done as far as, all this information came out, whether Azam Khan was angry and he was not happy with the fact how he has been treated.
Right.
But with the fact that how Kapil Sibal...
Right. Stay with us, Abhishek. I'm going to quickly cut across to Kapil Sibal as he spoke right after filing the nomination.
एक निर्दलीय की आवाज उठेगी तो वो लोगों को फिर ऐसा लगेगा कि किसी पार्टी से जुड़े हुए नहीं हैं, लेकिन देखिए हम विपक्ष में रह के हम एक गठबंधन बनाना चाहते हैं, सभी का गठबंधन, ताकि हम मोदी सरकार का विरोध करें। हम चाहते हैं कि 2024 में एक ऐसा माहौल बने हिंदुस्तान में कि मोदी सरकार की जो खामियां हैं वो जनता तक पहुंचाई जाएं, और हम इसका प्रयास करेंगे। मैं खुद इसमें अपना इसका प्रयास करूंगा। मैंने दे दिया है 16 मई को मैंने कांग्रेस पार्टी से त्याग पत्र दे दिया है। 16 मई को मैंने त्याग पत्र दे दिया।
लेकिन आजम खान जब से आए जेल से बाहर, तब से मुलाकात नहीं हो पाई है, तो क्या
आजम खान और अखिलेश जी की अब तक मुलाकात नहीं?
अरे भैया आप देखिए, मैं यहाँ आया हूँ, ये सवाल अब हमसे काहे को पूछ रहे हैं? समर्थन सभी ने मुझको दिया है, सारी उत्तर प्रदेश में जो यहाँ दल है उसमें समर्थन मुझे मिला है।
उत्तर प्रदेश की कितनी आवाज हम कह सकते हैं राज्यसभा में?
देखिए आपको मालूम है कि मेरी राज्यसभा में आवाज उठती थी, तभी भी मैं उत्तर प्रदेश का प्रत्याशी था, पिछली बार भी उत्तर प्रदेश का प्रत्याशी था, आपको मालूम है। तभी हम अपनी आवाज उठाते थे, और अभी अगले 6 सालों में भी उठाएंगे। सीरियस कांग्रेस लीडर मैं अब नहीं रहा हूँ।
All right, there you have it. Kapil Sibal formally admitting that he's resigned from the Congress party back on the 16th of May itself. He's bid adieu to the grand old party after much criticism and pointing fingers at the dilapidated state of the Congress party. Kapil Sibal now resigns from the Congress. He says he's done it already on the 16th of May, and he today files his nomination as a Rajya Sabha member backed by the Samajwadi Party. He's filed it as an independent candidate. Akhilesh Yadav, who accompanied him, spoke to the media. Let's have a listen.
आज कपिल सिब्बल जी ने किया है, वो समाजवादी पार्टी के समर्थन से राज्यसभा में जा रहे हैं। तो हमें उम्मीद है कि देश में जो बड़े बड़े सवाल हैं, आज देश किस रास्ते पर है। आज बेरोजगारी सबसे ज़्यादा है, महंगाई रुक नहीं रही है, कानून व्यवस्था ध्वस्त होती चली जा रही है, हमारी सीमाएं सुरक्षित नहीं हैं, चीन लगातार हमारी सीमाओं के अंदर आ रहा है। तो इन तमाम बड़े बड़े सवालों पर मुझे लगता है कपिल सिब्बल जी समाजवादी पार्टी और अपने विचारों को रख पाएंगे।
Akhilesh Yadav very clearly saying Kapil Sibal is a man who needed our support, and we're wholeheartedly supporting him. Now, it's very interesting to note that Kapil Sibal, a strong, tall Congress leader, has decided to file his nomination as an independent candidate, has not formally joined the Samajwadi Party, but he's been fully backed by the Samajwadi Party. Back in 2017, he helped the SP, Akhilesh Yadav, retain the bicycle symbol. He fought legally for him, and then now also for Azam Khan, an SP candidate, he managed to secure bail for Azam Khan. So in many ways, Kapil Sibal has been a man who's strongly supported the Samajwadi Party through his legal expertise. But here, Kapil Sibal formally resigns from the Congress and files his nomination as a Rajya Sabha member backed by the Samajwadi Party. Let me cut across to Sneha as well, joining us from the newsroom for more on that. Sneha, a huge embarrassment undoubtedly for the Congress party, starting with Hardik Patel, then you had Jakhar from Punjab, now Kapil Sibal, a tall senior leader who led the G23 delegation, now finally says enough is enough, I'm done.
You know, Nabila, it's not for the first time that any senior Congress leader has received support from another party to be sent to Rajya Sabha. In the year 2018, when Abhishek Manu Singhvi received support from the TMC and was sent by the TMC to Rajya Sabha, you know, as a matter of courtesy is what TMC had said, because of the legal services essentially that he had rendered to the Trinamool Congress. Congress was not happy about it because the messaging is not very good here. But this case has different. Here, Kapil Sibal is saying that I have quit the Congress party. I ceased to be a senior leader of the Congress party. Abhishek Manu Singhvi in the year 2018 was sent to Rajya Sabha on a TMC ticket but continues to be with the Congress party. So these permutations and combinations and support from parties happens. Now Congress was not in a position to offer him a seat in the sense that it has just 2 MLAs in the state of UP. Where is the quota? That was a bit of a problem there, and hence Sibal would have thought, why not? Also, Samajwadi Party, as is evident, is returning the favor in the sense of him fighting several cases for the Samajwadi Party and fighting them successfully is what is the indication. Now, Kapil Sibal is somebody, like Shiv had also been saying, is not a mass leader. In fact, he lost the Lok Sabha elections in the year 2014, but previously he's been a troubleshooter. Nabila for the Congress Party, he's been a face of the Congress Party, an excellent orator. He's been a lawyer. Also, he's been a minister. He's a minister with 2009. He was a minister even before that, both in UPA 1, UPA 2. He served as a minister of HRD. He served as a minister of law and justice. Troubleshooter in the peak of the Anna Hazare movement. He was somebody who was negotiating amongst the many ministers, along with Pranab Mukherjee at that point in time, also other leaders. Salman Khurshid, for example, he was a part of that group that was troubleshooting for the Congress party at the peak of the Anna Hazare movement. In that sense, the optics of this looks like we have stalwarts, we have leaders associated with the Congress party for decades together, quitting the Congress party, and the optics of this certainly isn't good.
And you know, Sneha, it sheds light on the success of the Chintan Shivir. As much as the Congress party boasted on how the Chintan Shivir gave a dimension to the Congress party, it's now set things right within the party. They're now trying to, restructure the organization to try and give a boost to the party's prospects for 2024. But clearly, soon after the 3-day Chintan Shivir, it appears that another senior leader, Kapil Sibal, has now called it quits. But nonetheless, at the same time, we're also looking at Sibal trying hard to be entrenched in power. He completes his Rajya Sabha term. He knows he won't be backed by the Congress, so he's now taken the SP's help.
Well, absolutely. Because at the end of the day, if you're losing elections in states, that brings down your quota as far as Rajya Sabha is concerned. And there are many contenders who would be looking at re-election. Obviously, that wasn't an option for Kapil Sibal. He was a Rajya Sabha MP from UP in the past. He said that as well. But this time around, there isn't quota. And that's the reason why this offer is coming from the Samajwadi Party. He, like I said, has made it clear that he's quitting the Congress. He's been extremely vocal. In fact, amongst the G23 leaders, he was the most vocal to actually come.
Absolutely, and which is why this does not come as a huge surprise, undoubtedly. But stay with us, Neha. I'm going to cut across to Shehzad Poonawala of the BJP joining us. Shehzad, Kapil Sibal, another tall senior Congress leader, after much of the criticism, now calls it quits. He's been backed by the SP, though, for Rajya Sabha nomination. He's just filed it. He's come out and declared that he says bye to Congress. He files as an independent candidate for the Rajya Sabha.
Well, one thing is clear, that today the Congress party is no longer a party. It's only about Parivar, and therefore there's no space for dissenters, only for Darbaris. And if you're not a Darbari, and if you're a dissenter, whether it's Hardik Patel, whether it's Mr. Jakhar, whether it's Mr. Sibal, then you are shown the door. And more than 177 Congress people, MPs, MLAs have left in the last few years. So clearly this shows that the party has neither any neta, niti or netritva, and there's a complete loss of confidence in the Congress leadership. But having said that, I would only say that this is also a reflection of the internal democracy or the lack of it within the Congress party. It in fact has as much democracy as the Republic of North Korea or China. And therefore the Congress party, while it lectures the entire country about democracy, should perhaps check if there is any democracy, accountability or performance that is put above Parivar within the Congress party fold at all.
All right, Shehzad, thank you very much for joining us. Let me quickly cut across to Sanjay Jha, who was a former Congress leader. He could give us a perspective on what really happened. Mr. Jha, thank you very much for joining India Today. Here is Kapil Sibal, another tall senior Congress leader who's decided to call it quits. He's now been backed by the Samajwadi Party as he files his nomination for the Rajya Sabha. How would you look at this?
Well, I think undoubtedly a terrible loss for the Congress. He's been a formidable political asset for the party, not just as a great lawyer, but as a phenomenal parliamentarian. And somebody who I think has always stood for the right, secular, inclusive, progressive causes. You can see the battles he takes up in the Supreme Court. He was frustrated to a great extent as being one of the, linchpin of the G23 group within the Congress who have been talking about reforms and changes. So I guess he was terribly disillusioned, probably did not see the Congress party reforming at the pace or having the intent to kind of make the changes that were drastically needed. Although he moves over to the Samajwadi Party, I think what is encouraging is that he will continue to kind of take on the current establishment, which in my opinion, where I agree with my very senior colleague that it is a very anti-democratic setup we have in India. And as long as Mr. Sibal succeeds in that crusade, I think the Congress party can still try and kind of ensure that it doesn't lose more good people. In my opinion, losing elections is bad enough, but losing people is awful. Because replacing talent takes a long, long time. And especially when you are losing people like Mr. Sibal or Mr. Jakhar, who have been with the party for decades and have gone through ups and downs that have hung in there, I think that to me is very, very sad and tragic. Because I know that at the core, ideologically, Mr. Sibal has been a very true congressman and somebody who I think has always believed that the BJP needs to be taken on. He's aggressive. Everybody in the Congress, I think, wants to stop this juggernaut.
Right. Mr. Jha, if you can hear me though, Kapil Sibal, of course, has been a vocal critique, but that wasn't received well within the Congress party, because every time he raised a concern about the organizational defects of the mismanagement within the party, of how the party should restructure if they want to see brighter prospects for 24, doesn't seem like his word was ever taken well. He was always looked at as a betrayer for the Congress party. He was looked at someone who was trying to defame the Congress, and his points were never taken. Eventually, Kapil Sibal went on to be his own man. He led the G23 delegation. He hosted dinners for the G23 team. It almost became a parallel leadership within the Congress led by Kapil Sibal.
No, I do believe that, Mr. Sibal's heart is in the right place. Even though he's left the Congress party, I do hope people in the Congress recognize that, you got to have dialogue with people. I'm of the fundamental opinion that the leadership must engage with those who are actually questioning you, who are critical of you, because they only do that when they care. There are two kinds of people in politics in my experience. Those who remain quiet and are sycophantic and will never tell you the truths. And those who are vocal, who are critical, who care. And if you're going to ignore those very people who are putting their own political career in jeopardy because they believe that they're actually not doing anything wrong. But, if there's a perception going to be created that anybody who's critical of the party is a pro-BJP guy, or, he's a conspirator, or he's somebody who wants to disturb the paradigm, that's wrong. Challenging a system that is not delivering is exactly what democracy is all about. So I do hope, the Congress leadership kind of wakes up to this reality that while you can lose a Hardik Patel who was there for a couple of years, losing Mr. Jakhar, who's, I think, in my opinion, a very committed congressman till he's now joined the BJP, unfortunately, I would say. But Mr. Sibal, I'm glad is staying on, at least with a party that has been a Congress's political ally. And I know Mr. Sibal well enough to tell you with a lot of confidence that he is not going to compromise on his ideological stance. And that, to my mind, is a lesson for all those people in the Congress, that you need to stop these leakages. You got to work on it with the determination to say, listen, today I will make a list of 25 people in the Congress who are unhappy. Then we're going to reach out to all of them, listen to them with respect. You're not doing anybody a favor. If the Congress party is to defeat the BJP, it has to start by first getting its house in order. That's what people in the party want. That's what people like Manish Tiwari or Milind Devra or, Prithviraj Chavan, you talk of Shashi Tharoor. All these people are people who have a deep ideological commitment. They want a passionate, robust fight back by the Congress. But when you're going to lose people, how are you going to take on the BJP? They're a monstrous machine.
Absolutely, they are war horses, and you need a mighty opposition to really give a fitting fight for the BJP at this point. Now, Mr. Jha, Sneha has also been tracking those developments. She's, of course, tracked Kapil Sibal's career. His career graph over the years has been a really vocal critique of the Congress party. But Sneha, interestingly, Kapil Sibal, as Mr. Jha says, did not really join the Samajwadi Party formally. He still decided to go independent.
Absolutely. Nabila, thanks for that. Sanjay Jha, I want to ask you, given that Congress is losing elections state after state, its quota obviously in the upper house is going to come down. I would expect more such desertions within the Congress party. It's happened in the past where Abhishek Manu Singhvi got a ticket from the TMC to contest the Rajya Sabha elections with the TMC support, but didn't quit the TMC. Here, Sibal has quit the Congress. He's no mass leader in that sense. He didn't win the Lok Sabha elections the last time around and even before that. But in one sense, this is a huge setback because this is the old guard of the Congress party, essentially. Troubleshooter during the Anna Hazare movement, sitting minister in both UPA 1, UPA 2. The optics of this is terrible for the Congress, isn't it?
It is. And I'll tell you something, one of the mistakes we very often make is to attribute a mass following only to if somebody is a Lok Sabha MP. Mr. Sibal is well known, perhaps more than many Lok Sabha MPs today. I mean, he's got an influence with large sections of India. He's known by many people, the young, the middle-aged, political community, everywhere. So, the following doesn't have to be necessarily at the ground level, although I agree with you that if you have that ability to influence millions of people, that's fantastic. But not everybody can be that pan-India leader. But Mr. Sibal's reputation is phenomenal. I mean, his extraordinary grasp of the legalese is kind of noted by one and all. But you're right. I mean, the Congress has to do something about it now. Now or it's never, because there must be so many other people within the Congress who are disillusioned or, kind of demoralized today, who are not speaking up. And, my concern is Mr. Sibal is leaving, and that's a headline. But what about the thousands of workers who are today joining the BJP or other parties at the ground level, unsung heroes who actually work for you at the booth level? Can you imagine that loss? You cannot replace losing anybody. A Congress ideologue has to be stopped from getting out of the door. And Mr. Sibal, well, of course, with Samajwadi support, he'll be there. So in the Rajya Sabha, the Congress will have somebody who will be fighting for a similar cause. But you need such people in your own team, formally, informally, in every sense of the word. Because, parties can only survive and thrive if they encourage a lot of conversation within, especially those that are critical of your failures, especially that question your leadership fault lines, especially those that actually tell you what could be an alternative way of looking at problems instead of following a status quoist approach.
Mr. Jha, stay with us. We also have Rajdeep Sardesai, who gives us an understanding on what this could really mean for the Congress party. Certainly a big blow, Rajdeep, for the Congress party. Kapil Sibal has constantly often demanded for an overhaul, for a strong leadership to lead the party to a victory in the upcoming elections. None of his words were taken well. He led the G23 delegation separately, has been a rebel extensively, hosting dinners and events at his home, sans the Gandhis altogether. And this man finally, after not being heard, says bye-bye. He now files his nomination as an independent candidate for the Rajya Sabha, backed by the SP.
That's right. What I am told is that Kapil Sibal met Sonia Gandhi around the 16th, and that's when he told her that he had decided enough was enough, and that he felt that he couldn't be part of the Congress in the way it was going. Remember, Mr. Sibal did not attend the Congress's Chintan Shivir as well. He claims that he cannot attend a meeting on grounds of principle, he says, because he cannot accept, he says, the leadership anymore of the Gandhis. He has been calling for change. Now, out of the entire G23 group, the so-called rebels within the Congress, Mr. Sibal is the only one who has directly attacked the Gandhis time and again. All the others who have been fence sitters have now been accommodated. Bhupinder Singh Hooda, former Haryana Chief Minister, his man has been made Haryana Congress President. Ghulam Nabi Azad, Anand Sharma have yesterday been accommodated in this political advisory group that will work with Sonia Gandhi ahead of the 2024 elections. Mukul Wasnik has been put on an task force that has been appointed by the party for 2024. So what the Gandhis have tried to do is split in a way the G23 by accommodating a number of the old guard. Sibal is the one person who has stood up and taken the Gandhis on and was looking therefore at options. That option has come through the Samajwadi Party. Remember, Kapil Sibal appeared in the courts for Azam Khan, who's just got bail, the senior Samajwadi Party leader. There are other cases also in which he's appearing for the Samajwadi Party, a disproportionate assets case involving Mulayam Singh Yadav. He was also looking at an option from the JMM, which is a direct ally of the Congress, and that's where the problem came. Samajwadi Party is not an ally of the Congress. They had an extra seat. Mr. Sibal has taken their support in the past also to enter the Rajya Sabha. His aides are telling me that he has not joined the Samajwadi Party, but once he has, in a way, contesting now as an independent, this time he has chosen to depart, is the word being used, from the Congress. He has chosen not to sever all his links, but clearly has sent out a message to the Congress that he is now looking at a life beyond the Congress, since his rebellion or his anger against the Gandhi family has not got an echo within his colleagues in the party.
Right, Rajdeep, it's very interesting that he has not formally joined the Samajwadi Party. He has taken the independent route. In fact, right after he filed his Rajya Sabha nomination, he says it's very important to be an independent voice within the Rajya Sabha, because if you are an independent voice, then people will look at you with credibility. Then you don't have any party's weight or ideology to carry forward. You have your own independent voice to speak up. People will believe you then. That's what he says. What's the future of Kapil Sibal as an independent candidate as he files his nomination today?
Look, he will get elected because the Samajwadi Party has enough MLA support for getting Kapil Sibal elected from Uttar Pradesh to the Rajya Sabha. Will he be truly an independent voice? Possibly. But it also leaves a door open for him to return to the Congress one day, because Sibal says that his battle is not with the Congress party or its ideology. Now it's with the leadership and the way the party is being run. He was hoping to emerge as some kind of a magnet for this rebellion. That clearly has not happened. The Congress has lost. I mean, most Congress leaders who are questioning the Gandhis in private do not have it in them to question them in public or take them on in public or take them on in elections in August, September. And therefore, Kapil Sibal found himself to be almost a lone voice. Now, he is someone, remember, who's also lost elections in recent times to the Lok Sabha. In 2014, he was defeated from Chandni Chowk. He's not a mass leader. He has limited option. The one option he has is that he's a top-class Supreme Court lawyer and therefore has clients in every party. And he's used that to strike some kind of a quid pro quo with the Samajwadi Party, not leaving the Congress, thereby keeping a few options open, but at the same time making it clear that he's not joining the Samajwadi Party either. To that extent, you can claim he's an independent voice who can now speak even more strongly against the Congress leadership without attracting any disciplinary action.
Right, but Rajdeep, let's have it clear here. Kapil Sibal has resigned from the Congress party. Those are his words. He's come out to say that on the 16th of May itself, I've given out my resignation. A quick peek into what conversation he may have had with Sonia Gandhi. As per you said, you claim to have spoken to him. What do you think was the conversation that he may have had with Sonia Gandhi? And was there any attempt to pacify this man who's been upset for at least 2 years now?
No, there was no attempt made to pacify him. I think all bridges have been burnt, because Kapil Sibal has been open and vocal in his view and his demand that the Gandhis step aside. That clearly is unacceptable to the Gandhi family at the moment. And what has disappointed him is what the others of the G23 have done. Most of them have tried to strike their own deals. We are told that Anand Sharma is hoping to get a Congress Rajya Sabha seat from Haryana. Ghulam Nabi Azad is also hoping to be accommodated in some form in Parliament. So with other leaders around the Gandhis who were questioning their leadership, also now getting accommodated, Mr. Sibal found himself as a lone voice. So he is disappointed, disillusioned, and I believe he has conveyed that disillusionment to Sonia Gandhi, saying that it is very clear that as long as the Gandhis, particularly Rahul Gandhi, continues to be seen as the face of the party, the Congress has no hope of defeating Narendra Modi and the BJP. So he has communicated his views very clearly, and the Gandhis for their part seem to have also decided that they also now need life without Mr. Sibal.
So you're saying, Rajdeep, that the Gandhis have made peace with his exit, or rather they were waiting for him to finally say goodbye because they have done dealing with a dissenter. They have really nothing to offer, it appears. And finally, Kapil Sibal left. Are the Gandhis more relieved, if anything?
Well, I don't know who's more relieved. Look, Kapil Sibal, like, as I said, being a top-class lawyer, has perhaps more options than most other congressmen would have. The professional politicians in the Congress party, they have no other option but to hang on to the Congress party and hope for the loaves and fishes of office. Look, the Congress also has very little to offer. There are barely half a dozen Rajya Sabha seats that the Congress can really give this old guard. There's one in Maharashtra, one in Tamil Nadu, which Mr. Chidambaram is eyeing. We don't know who they will give the Maharashtra seat to. They have no other seats in North India. They have one in Jharkhand that they can strike with in partnership with the JMM. They have one in Haryana, which we are told Randeep Singh Surjewala and Kumari Shelja are eyeing. They have a seat in Chhattisgarh. We don't know who that seat will go to at the moment. So they have a very few seats available at the moment. The grand old party simply cannot distribute the loaves and fishes of office to those who in the past hoped to use the Rajya Sabha route to stay relevant in politics. Kapil Sibal recognized this and therefore has decided that I might as well take this opportunity with the Samajwadi Party and retain my so-called independence by taking on the Congress leadership, not the Congress party, but the Congress leadership. So a bit like Sanjay Jha, who's with you, I don't think Sanjay Jha is taking on the Congress ideology, but he has been taking on